Welcome to the Business Brains and the Bottom Line podcast. My name is Paul Delegro, your host today, as usual, and my guest is Mary Rossi from California. She is an independent claims adjuster, a vineyard owner, a fitness enthusiast, but most importantly, she's a fellow Italian. So to me, that's the most important thing. But at any rate, welcome to the show, Mary.
Thank you. I so appreciate this, Paul. It's wonderful to be here. And yes, to my fellow Italian, absolutely. Thank you again for this opportunity.
Yeah, I always have an affinity for people that have their names end in a vowel. So I just call it is what it is, right? So
it is. Yeah.
But at any rate, Mary, as I'm prepping for the show, I'm looking into your background, and quite interesting. You've got quite a diverse background here, but basically, you've been an independent claims adjuster for many, many years, obviously at the top of your game, and now you're starting an academy to train adjusters. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yes.
What possessed you to become a trainer? I mean, you have a successful career. I always wonder about these things, and I mean this in a complimentary way. I know you're not 20, so it's not like you're making a career change at 20. You're making it, as we get a little older in life and on in our careers.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, exactly. No, I'm not 20. I wish I were 20 again, but yeah, I think a lot of us do. But so yeah, I've been in the insurance industry for, 3 decades, and most of my career as a carrier adjuster, and the last 6 owning my own independent adjusting firm. And I have a huge passion to teach, and have handled many cases, over my years, and I have a huge desire to take my skills that, over all of these years combined, and work with the adjusters that are out there. I think there's a big gap in the industry right now. I think a lot of adjusters are starting to retire out, your senior and complex level adjusters.
Yeah.
And, yeah. So I think this is
is that industry, and I don't know much about your industry, so excuse me, some of the simple questions. So is this the type of industry that young people are not attracted to or not getting into?
So I think it is, maybe there's just not a lot of information out there about this industry. This is a great industry. I mean, it's been a fantastic career for me. I started when I was like 3, right? And
well, that makes sense. 30 years plus 3, 33 years old. I get it. Yeah, it makes sense to me.
Not 20,
Yeah.
I think I think there needs to be, some information out there to, the young generation. I remember when I was, young, getting into this industry, and, just what a great opportunity there is. And it's a position that's always going to be here, regardless of the stock market, right? And we won't go there. But, regardless, adjusters are always going to be needed, and it's a fantastic industry.
Yeah, you would think. I mean, insurance is all, whatever type of insurance you're into, whether it be auto insurance, home insurance, liability. I mean, everyone needs it, and there's always going to be claims, right?
There's always going to be claims, absolutely. So there's always going to be the need for the adjuster. And I honestly believe that the adjuster is the backbone of the organization, because claims are coming in every single day, and somebody's got to handle those claims. Somebody's got to adjust those claims.
Yeah. What about technology? How has the technology changed over the last, say, since you started? Obviously, you probably were paper and pencil back in those days, but now with computers and AI, and how is that affecting your industry?
Yeah, I kind of giggled because I was talking to somebody yesterday about when we started eons ago, and we had what we called iLog notes. And so when we talked to somebody, we would have a piece of paper, a grid, and we would write out the conversation. And, over the years, it has, morphed into claim systems rolled out to where you sort of became a little paperless and then more paperless. And, now we're in the times of AI, artificial intelligence, which I think is going to play a factor into claims adjusting. And, while AI is never going to replace the adjuster, because AI can't take a recorded statement or go to a mediation or a settlement conference.
Sure.
But I think it's going to help the adjuster. I think it's going to take away some of the mundane tasks, and, it's going to give the adjuster the ability to use their critical brain. I mean, that's what we're hired to do.
Yeah, you raise a good point. I think any job that you can take the mundane tasks out of, I'm all for.
Me too.
Right? Let's do the fun part of the job or the meat and potatoes part of the job versus the clerical part of the job, right?
Exactly. 1,000,000%. Yeah. And with adjusters, there's a lot of, checking the box on different things and, clerical aspect to it. And I think if that can, be assisted by AI, it's going to give us the opportunity to really use our critical brain for what we're hired to do.
Yeah, and I would think you'd be able to scale a lot better at that point too, right? Because you can handle more claims, process more claims.
Right. Exactly.
Become more efficient. So, in your training school, is it going to be like entry level adjusters, or are you trying to take like mid level adjusters and have them to take them to the next level?
Yeah, so it's going to be varied. And I'm rolling the academy out very slowly because, again, I am not leaving my claims business. I love what I do. I'm a technician. I'm a total investigation geek, nerd, whatever you want to call it. And so the academy is going to roll out slowly. Right now, I'm working with your, more entry to mid-level adjuster to really help them with leveling up. And, especially at a time right now with AI coming in.
Yeah.
And, this is a time for them to level up and ensure they're not getting left behind. And then also the senior level adjuster, maybe those adjusters that, are kind of a little tired or maybe they're a little disengaged, work with them on, different lines of business, maybe, because sometimes adjusters kind of get entrenched. You know how we get entrenched in things and we don't step out of the box. And so, if you've got somebody that's been at this, 20 years and they're like, oh my God, I want to learn something different. There's a lot of different lines of business out there they can look at.
Yeah. What have you specialized in over the years?
Oh gosh, I've done everything from soup to nuts. So, anything from, excuse me, auto accidents, general liability, construction accidents. Sadly, the really heavy duty, fatalities, fentanyl overdose, habitability bugs, where tenants are suing landlords for, habitability issues. There's just so many different claims, over my time that I've handled.
Yeah, and I'm assuming that each line of business has their own kind of set of terminology, jargon, gotchas, all that, right? That you have to learn.
Yeah, for sure. Yes, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. So I give you credit. I mean, to start an academy, and you're probably doing it the right way. You're starting it slow. But I think once you get your name out there and start, partnering up with companies that need the help, I would anticipate you won't be very slow for very long.
Oh, well, you're too kind. Thank you. Well, we'll see what happens. I am one person, but I am committed and I'm excited. And I did have my first training 2 days ago, and that went really well. That was just super exciting.
Nice.
Who gets excited at 3-car rear enders?
Yeah. Yeah. So it makes sense what you're doing, right? I mean, you're kind of formulating your program, trying it out slowly. You got a plan, but now you can modify that plan after every session, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And you know what? And also too, Paul, I want to train my competition, and I don't really look at them as competition. There's a lot of independent adjusters out there. And, it's like we're all family. We're all doing the same thing. And, I would love to be able to, work with some of, maybe the newer independent adjusters. And, because at some point I'm going to retire also, but that's not going to be for a number of years. But I'm happy to
Well,
work
you're only 33, right? So you've got another 30 years to go, right?
at least. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. In any business, I don't think it pays to be enemies with your competition, right? I think it's always, friendly competitors, shake hands and move to, live for another day.
Totally. And you know what? And I'm also always referring business. If it's something that, I can't handle, or if I'm feeling overloaded, there's other independent adjusters that I'll readily refer to, because I would rather, provide a good quality product with good turnaround time. So yeah, absolutely.
So what excites you about that business? Because I'm on the outside looking in going, hey, what fires this young lady up when she's going up to adjust some claims?
Yeah, just putting the pieces together, just, digging in and, getting in the trench. And which is why I named my academy, Rossi Claims Academy, training from the trenches. Um, I loved when I was a kid, I loved like sci-fi stuff. I loved puzzles. I loved, besides sports. But, I really enjoyed like true crime. And I just have my brain works that way. I've got just a super investigative brain. And so I like to be able to take a case and just dissect it and, turn over those golden nuggets. So, yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
Would you do it over again? Do you have any regrets about getting into it?
No regrets at all. Zero.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's that's awesome. Because I mean, all of us, I guess, have some regrets in life. That could have, should have. I went left when I should have went right. But I always ask people that about their career choices, and it's nice that you say you wouldn't make any changes. That means you're happy.
I'm super happy and I'm super thankful. I mean, this has been an amazing industry. I have promoted up, throughout the ranks. I was always, wanting to learn more and more. And that's the great thing about this industry. If you want to learn, the opportunity is definitely there.
Yeah, no question. Well, let's change direction a little bit about getting to your personal life. I understand you own a vineyard. Is
Okay.
that accurate?
Sorry, say again?
You own a vineyard.
I do.
How
Yes.
did you get into that, by the way? What was the genesis of the vineyard? Because
Oh
that's
my,
like diametrically opposite of a claims adjuster.
yeah, totally. My dad, my dad was the one behind, me planting grapes. He's Italian, old time Italian, loved wine, always wanted the opportunity to have grapes, never could. And dad got sick, oh gosh, 6 years ago. And he started to get dementia. And I had some extra room on my property. I have 5 acres. And wherever the horses weren't trampling around, I had some extra area for grapes. And so I planted Cab and Merlot so he could just play in the vineyard.
Yeah,
And yeah, and he got to
nice.
do that. He got to do that for a year before he really started to deteriorate.
That's awesome. And
Thank
I
you.
get and a lot of personal satisfaction knowing that you made the last year of your dad's life a little bit more pleasurable, right?
Oh my gosh, he had so much fun, and I would tell him, I go, Pop, those are not eating grapes, because the Cab and the Merlot, they have seeds in them, and he didn't care. He's like, he gives me this huge smile,
Yeah.
and, he's out there like the deer grazing on the grapes.
So how many years have you had the what do they call them, vine plants, or I don't know, I'm not even sure what the terminology is.
Yeah, the vineyard. So I planted in I want to say it was 2019. And so I started off with about 110, vines, like 3 rows. And so then that produced grapes pretty quickly.
Really?
Yeah, really quickly. And then I added, it's kind of like, once you do something, you want to do a little more and you want to do a little more. And so then I went, ooh, I got another area for grapes. So I planted another block of grapes. And then I went, ooh, I have another area for grapes. And so I think I'm done planting grapes, but I've got a nice amount of Cab and Merlot and ended up having first harvest in 2022. And so
Nice. Now, don't you have to let the wine sit in the casks for a while or to age, or no?
you do. Yeah. So when I did the first crush of grapes, it goes into, you get to go through the whole process. And I have an amazing winemaker who I was beyond blessed to connect with. And he's become a dear friend of mine, teaching me, the whole process. And so once you go through, the crushing process and you go through fermentation, then it goes into French oak. And it depends what it is that you're making. So I do a blend, I do a red blend and a port. So the port now stays longer in the French oak. You
Okay.
want to age longer. The blend, the regular wine, that stays 18 months in the French oak before you bottle it. So
Now, do you have the whole setup? I've been to wineries in Europe, so I kind of know the setup there. Do you have all the crushing mechanisms and the bottling machines and all that?
I do. And, it was just totally, a stroke of luck. Matt, who is, helping me make the wine, he had somebody call him and tell him, "Hey, I've got a bunch of equipment for sale. We're no longer making wine." They were making wine for like the last, 5 to 7 years. So, long story short, I met with them and I ended up buying most of their equipment for a fraction of the cost.
Nice.
Yes, it was
That's
amazing.
awesome.
Yeah, it just was what a windfall. And they're amazing people. And we've actually become friends. And they actually came to my first crush. So, yeah. So it's like, it's ended up being a really cool thing.
Now, what are the regulations, for wineries in order to sell it? I mean, can anyone just, do it, or what are the regulations?
Yeah, no. So, you technically, if you want to sell wine, you have to have a license. And so I don't sell my wine, at least not at this point. My wine is really for, family, friends, clients. But if I do get to the point where I want to maybe have like a small wine club, then I'll get with, the ABC, which the Alcoholic Beverage Control, and I would get a limited license. So
Sure.
I've actually looked into that, but, and that might be coming down the road.
Nice. Because you'd think at some point, what do you think the maximum amount of what's the yield going to be per year or per season? I'm not sure how that goes.
Yeah, that's really hard to say. One year, it was really diminished because we had a late frost, and this
Yeah.
this is the thing with farming. We had a frost in May and I came back from a trip to LA. I had a case in LA and I was driving to the barn in the Gator and I looked right at the vines and I went, "Oh my God, they were just all wilted." We had a frost that hit in May.
Hmm.
So, yeah, that pretty much put a dent in, the crop that year. But, now that I have, fully planted, you're looking at about 4 barrels, 4 barrels of wine. And, that's like 100 cases a year. So, it's quite a lot.
Yeah, I remember when I was a young kid, my grandfather had a wine cellar in his house, and uh, between him and one of my uncles did make a big one cask of red and one cask of white. Don't ask me what was in them because I was a little kid. Um, but it was always fun to watch them, crush the grapes and
Yeah.
make the wine, and it was kind of a family exercise.
So don't ask what was in them. You mean you weren't dabbling in what was in that cask?
Yeah, not when I was 10 years old, 8 years old. Uh,
You
And
know,
then one of my uncles continued to do it after that. And I don't really, at the time, I didn't really know much about wines. Probably still don't, but I know more than I knew then.
yeah.
All I knew it was red and it was white and it was pretty strong stuff.
Yes, yes. My on the other side of the family, the Portuguese, my mom's from the Azores Islands, and her father in the Bay Area when they came out from Portugal, he used to make wine in the cellar, and we used to call it Portuguese diesel fuel, and that's what everybody called it because it was so strong, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. This stuff, I remember everyone that drank it, you know, again, didn't have much experience drinking wine, so I couldn't really tell, but everyone that drank it was like, oh my God, this stuff would grow hair in your chest,
yeah, right. Yeah,
you know? So, well,
yeah.
that's
No,
awesome. So
yeah.
you don't, so this is more of a hobby then, and it'll always be kind of maybe sell some stuff in the future, but I don't think you see this as like a business in the future. No?
No, I actually do. Yeah,
Oh, you do?
yeah, I do. Yeah, I have some priorities, obviously my claims business and the academy and, the winery. I do want to do a wine club. I absolutely, because I've had so many people tell me, "Oh my God, we love the port." And so I'm actually thinking about doing, more of like a port club and with different varietals. And so this year, the port is like a really dry port. And everybody that's tasted it so far, what's in the barrel, they really love.
Okay.
Yeah,
D-
and it'll be, I've already checked with, the ABC on getting licensed, and that's a little bit of a process
Nice.
there, but yeah. So
Yeah. So dumb question. What is a port?
Okay, so port, I didn't know that either. I had no idea, right?
I hear the word all the time, and
Yeah.
I really don't know what it is.
So port is it's a wine, it's an after dinner wine, but it's fortified with brandy. And so when I started making wine with Matt, and he and I would be texting back and forth, and he's like, "Okay, get this, get that. Now you need to go out and get 28 bottles of brandy." And I'm like, "What?" And I thought he was messing with me. I'm like, "Okay, yeah, right, brandy." He's like, "Yeah, no, we've got to put brandy in the wine now." So port is fortified with brandy, and that gives it that extra alcohol content.
Sure.
Yeah, and so it's really an after dinner type wine where you have it with like dark chocolate or a dessert. Yeah,
And
and
you sip it, right?
you sip it. Yes,
Yeah.
so like
So
small.
I was going to say, what's the ratio? Like, how much brandy to wine? What would that? I know it can probably vary, right?
It varies because you have to look at the alcohol content of the wine itself, right? And so you want to get to about 18% on your port combined. And so,
Got it.
yeah, so when you get to the point where you're now testing your wine for the alcohol percentage, then you're doing the calculations to figure out how much brandy you need to add to get it to that point.
Got it. Okay, that makes sense. Well, now I know what a port is. I'm embarrassed to say I never knew what it was.
No, don't be. I'll tell you, I didn't know what was in the port either. I mean, I knew it was wine, but I had no idea you added brandy to it. A lot of
Yeah.
people don't, so don't feel bad.
Any particular brandy, or does it matter?
It doesn't really matter. I just, buy brandy at Costco, and I have to make sure, like, when I'm in line, I'm like this. I'm like, look, okay, no, I'm not drinking all this, people. Because you're standing in line and you got this huge, cart, this flatbed of bottles of brandy, and people are kind of, they're just kind of looking at you like,
That's funny.
this lady's got a problem.
Yeah. So when I was a little kid, my grandfather used to make anisette,
Oh, yeah.
like the kind of like for those folks out there, it's kind of like the Zambuca type
Hmm.
drink, you know?
Right. Yeah. I remember the anisette. My grandparents, they had the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Used to, and I even to this day, I love Zambuca in coffee,
Yeah.
in espresso or cappuccino or something. Yeah.
Gives it that little extra kick.
That's right. Yeah, you can't do it in the morning, but I guess you could, but I'm not sure you start your day off the way it should. But
Yeah, no, no.
well, that touches on the next subject, Mary, is our Italian connection here, and um, I guess you're in the similar boat to me that you're attempting to go for your Italian citizenship. Is that accurate information?
That is accurate information. 10-4.
That's great. So where are you in the process?
Well, I am trying to get my appointment with the consulate, the San Francisco consulate, which is a daunting task.
Yep.
Uh,
Same here in Texas, by the way. I eventually canned that and hired a company to do it for me. So I chose you're doing it through the consulate. I'm doing it through the judicial process where I have a company, I have an attorney in Italy that I gave power of attorney to, and I actually have a court date in February for myself and my daughter. And because I was like you, I got so frustrated with the consulate in Houston. One, one thing about the Italians, I will say, as much as I love them and I love the country, they don't move too quickly, right?
I
I
don't.
mean, why do today what you can do tomorrow? I mean, they have no hurry to do it. It's probably why they live longer than us, by the way.
Exactly.
Um,
Exactly. Yeah,
but
it has been a little frustrating. You got to check the computer every day, and
yep,
I'm on a Facebook group of people, trying to also get their appointments, and the recommendation is check it at 3 o'clock. And every day it's like you're so excited, right? Maybe I'm going to get my appointment today. And it
yep,
says, no appointments, check back tomorrow. And you're like,
yep.
oh, God,
I
again.
used to keep that website open all day, every day for about a year. And I got so frustrated, I finally said, I'm going to hire someone because I would see the advertisements for companies that will help you with your citizenship. And with the new rules coming in, they've got to be reeling because now they're really limiting. The latest I saw was you have to have a grandparent or a parent that is born in Italy. So no more great grandparents, no more. My daughter and I happen to get in under that. We've already got our application in, so we're grandfathered, so we will get it
Yeah.
unless something happens. But there's a lot of people that are. I know some people that are really upset now because their kids aren't going to be able to get it.
Wow. Yeah, that's too bad. Yeah, that's yeah, fortunately my grandfather was born in Sicily.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and my cousins already have some cousins already have their citizenship, and so it's been great because, my cousin Linda, she really did all the work. She got all the birth certificates and all
Yeah.
the documents and all the naturalization paperwork, and so, yeah, it's just now
Yeah,
they
there's a lot to it. Marriage certificates, death certificates, birth certificates. You got to get them apostilled, certified. And there's a lot to this process. I've been working on this for 4 years,
I bet. I
and
bet.
I've got another 10 months to go before I. What's nice now, I know because I've got an Italian website I log into to check on my case, and it's there. So once they have the case, I'll get a decision and I'll get my citizenship. But from what they're telling me, they don't see any roadblocks. But you may want to look into that route, Mary, because I get so frustrated with the consulate. It just
I think I'm where you are now, Paul, so I might need to, get some information from you on
yeah,
what
I'll send you the link to the people that I use. I mean, just it's slow, but at least these folks do this every day. They know what they're doing,
yeah.
and they'll guide you through the process.
Wonderful. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, no, I'm tired of checking the computer every day. And then again, I travel a lot, and so it's not like I can check every day.
Correct. Yeah. Like most of us that have day jobs, right? We're out and about. It's hard to do. But so
Right.
what you so and this is a personal question. Why do you want your citizenship? Because I know why I want it. Why do you want to do it?
So I want to go and spend time in Italy someday when I do retire. And I just want to go over and enjoy the country and see, where my grandparents came from and cousins, and just spend some good quality time over there. And, maybe a month at a time, or maybe a little longer. And who
Yeah.
knows, maybe one of these days I'll end up moving to Italy. Who knows?
Yep. So
Yeah.
I'm a few years older than you, so I'm at that point where retirement's in the near future, and I want to set myself up so that I can go live there if I wanted to, or spend 2, 3, 4 months out of the year and go live there without having visa issues and all that. And so, to your point, I am actually heading to Italy in about a month, and I'm going to Croatia first, Italy for a week, and I'm actually going to go to my grandparents' hometown, Gaeta, Italy, which is in Lazio. And something I've always wanted to do, kind of like you. I know you feel the same way. It's something. So I have a cousin that lives in Rome. I'm trying to get in touch with her that was born in Gaeta. And I'm hoping that she can kind of direct me to where my grandparents were born and the churches they were christened in. Maybe she'll have that information. I'm sure I could get that information if I go like to the town municipal center or town hall. But so I'm just going to check out where my grandfather was born, and it'll be just me, my wife, and I at that point. We're going to Croatia with 2 other couples, so we're splitting up after Croatian. So that's why it was just my wife and I, and she's wanting to do it. So it should be fun. Again, it's kind of like you. It's a bucket list thing for me. I've heard so much about. And it's probably not going to be as glamorous as my grandparents made it out to be, but you know,
Hey, you never know.
that's right. You never know. So, well, good luck with you. And if you need any help with that, like I said, my brother's already got all his, and he did the consulate route like you did.
Okay.
He did getting all the documents himself, applying at the consulate in Boston. They did it up in Massachusetts, and he got it all for he and his family. But that was in 2008. He did it a long time ago.
Yeah. A lot easier back then.
It is. They're making it tough, and so I'm glad I'm in right now because I've got the feeling they're going to crack down even more. This is the second time they've made changes in the last year.
Wow.
So,
Yikes. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
we'll
No, I've
see.
got all the paperwork ready to go. Just need that appointment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well. I don't know. I gave up. Maybe you're stronger than me, but I did it for a year and I just couldn't do it anymore. So
My mom says I'm feisty. So,
you are. I can see that in you. Yeah, I know I see from your Facebook page that you're a fitness enthusiast too. You look like you exercise a lot. You're an outdoors person.
yes. Yes, I do. Yeah, I'm in the gym 3 times a week and on my Peloton at home at, 6:30 in the morning and,
Yeah,
so I'm at it hard.
nice. Well, it shows you look fit. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Uh, yeah, I consider myself a fitness kind of buff too. I try to do something every day. I go to the gym every day. I don't do the same thing every day, but if, if it's just like you said, doing the bike or the treadmill or the, you know, stair climber, weights, try to do something every, stay active. That's the name of the game, I think.
Yeah, I had a little health scare, which kind of got me back into the gym a lot more and, changing my diet. And I was down in Southern California and I had a case down there and I was done early and I went surfing. And, because I love to surf and I broke a rib and didn't even deserve it. I was just laying on my board pushing up and I popped a rib.
Oh God.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so I ended up having a DEXA scan, found out that I have, advanced osteo, which is,
Oh wow.
I know. Yeah. And had some blood sugar issues and I was taking a cholesterol statin. And at that point, it was like, this was about a year and a half ago. Okay, something's got to change. I need to turn things around. And so, now I'm off my statin. I actually have been working with a health and nutrition coach, off the statin, just with a dietary change. And
Nice.
yeah,
It
and,
can be done.
it can be done and I'm living proof. And,
Yeah.
I actually was wearing a glucose monitor for a while and I thought that, all the really great food like lentils and sweet potato and the healthy stuff spikes my blood sugar.
Yeah.
Well, I've learned, how now to control that. And then of course lifting the weights and, pounding the iron to protect my bones. So
Yeah. Well, congratulations. I have a very close friend of mine that was like 300 pounds and lost like 100 pounds, was on blood pressure medication, diabetes medication, cholesterol. He's off all of them now. He's so strict right now. And I think it's once you get into that habit, once you get over the hump of making it a habit, I think you're fine. Because I'm going through some of the same issues you're going through, by the way, right now, that I've cleaned up my diet. I've stopped drinking, really cut out carbs, sugars, processed carbs,
yes.
dairy to try to, because we're not getting any younger, Mary, last I checked.
You know what? We're not. We are not. Well, good job on the, limiting all of that. June 8th will be a year for me with no alcohol.
Nice. Well, I can't say it's been that long for me. It's been about 6 weeks for me. I'm a newbie to it, but I'm not missing it. I can tell you, I'm not.
Isn't that amazing? Yeah,
Yeah,
I didn't drink a lot before and everybody's like, "Oh my God, you produce this wine and you don't drink." And I'm like, what goes into my body is super important to me. And I feel so good and so healthy. And it's you don't miss it. After a while, it's like you really don't. Yeah.
yeah, you
I
really
said I was
don't.
gonna go a year. And so
Well, on that note, Mary, we've covered a lot of subjects today. I knew this was going to be an interesting conversation because we have so many different ways we could have taken it today. But if so, from your coaching practice, how would someone get in touch with you if they
yes,
want to reach out to you?
yeah, thank you for that. They can give me a call. My number 916-955-7429, or they can reach out to me at my email address, Mary at RossiClaimServices.com. I'm going to also be at the Combined Claim Conference next month in Gardena down by Long Beach. And so I'll be officially launching the academy there. So
Congratulations. Well, like I always say about the podcasting business for me, I've met so many great people that I would have never been able to meet. So we're friends now, and so let's get a lot in common. So we got to stay in touch.
absolutely. Yes. Thank you so much. It's just been a wonderful opportunity getting to know you and chatting and, all about our heritage and
Yep,
everything in between.
love it, love it. Great. So on that note, This is Paul Delegro signing off on the Business Brains and the Bottom Line podcast. Until next time.